This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know. Some rockstar dads who started a show. So here's the next episode.
Welcome to the Rockstar Dad Show, everybody. And my goodness, Gary, I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time.
Well, you've been jet setting. You just got back from a Disney cruise to Alaska, which I know we got to talk about because we both love cruises. We both love Disney cruises.
Yep.
I want to go back to Alaska. We've only been once as a band, and that's the only time I've been. So I want to hear all about the trip.
Man, it was great. You know, I do want to say, and this is the God's honest truth. I would love for Disney to be a sponsor of this show, but they aren't. But they just have it down, man. I mean, I would recommend a Disney cruise to literally anybody. I mean, even if you don't have kids, like it's just everything is just done right. You know,
I'll agree with that, and I understand the sentiment of not thinking that if you don't have kids, like why would you pick that trip, right? Because I remember years ago, my mom went with my aunt and her two younger kids, and I was thinking, like, she's not going to have much fun on this trip. It's a kids screaming and hollering all over the place. Why does she want to go on that thing, right?
Yeah.
And she came back and loved it. And once we went on a Disney cruise, got it. Totally understand. And like you said, even if you don't have kids, there's people on the boat whenever we've been that don't have kids and are loving it.
Man, I mean, it's just the cleanest freaking, not only just boat, but resort you could ever go on. Like they make sure everybody's washing their hands before they go into dinner, and they're giving out hand sanitizer wipes, and they're, you know, just that's the little shit. But man, and then just, there's so many activities for adults, and they're, you know, in different areas from the kids or whatever. So, you know, again, if my kid is 12, and he's sort of, and I know you just experienced this too with your oldest, you know, I mean, he kind of just went around and did what he wanted and had a blast. And then if he wanted to come hang out with us, then we did something that we could do with him. And man, I had such a great time. But I don't know if you saw my social media, but I am having a bit of ulcerative colitis flare. And so really all that means is that I kind of just need to be close to facilities, you know? Right. And so I was there, 2 excursions that I was supposed to go on. I did not get to, and I made the right decision at the end of the day, because both those days were very active down there. But instead of doing those things, I just fucking hung out, and I drank coffee, and I got, you know, a few things done on my phone that, you know, I don't know. I mean, some would consider it work, but really, you know, it's what I love to do anyway. And I drew Disney characters at the drawing classes or whatever. I went to trivia, you know, and I just did all this shit that I just normally would not do. And I had the best freaking time. And I feel relaxed and recharged and motivated. And so I told Casey when we got back, I was like, man, I know I missed a few things here and there, but you know, I mean, honestly, it was the best possible scenario for me to need to be tied to be close to something, because you know, obviously you've been with me when that happens on tour, and it's just a miserable experience. And you know, this was just awesome because, you know, you're just never that far away from something. But man, I mean, just the music is great and the entertainment is awesome, and we just had the best time. And my son, who actually usually doesn't give a shit about anything as far as like, oh, okay, we're going home, that's fine, was actually sad to be coming home. So
that's a sign of a good trip.
That's a sign of a good trip. Yeah.
Because usually, you know, after 4 or 5 days of whatever, you know,
yeah,
kids and adults both are like, not homesick, but like, you know, traveling's a lot and it's not the normal schedule. And, you know, it's nice to get home. So that's awesome that he was wanting to go there. And it's nice, especially to hear. I did know that you were, you know, having a little bit of trouble, and it's nice that you could still have a great time and go do stuff and not just be like bound to your room and
Yeah.
bored.
Yeah. I definitely like made myself get out of my room and go do, just one day on a whim. I was like, okay, fuck it. I was sitting there on my phone and I was, making TikToks or whatever. But I ended up like going to everybody went to bed early one night and I was just like, yeah, fuck it. I'm out. I went to a dueling piano. I love those. And you can see this on my social media, by the way, everybody, but they started playing, one of the girls started playing just cartoon themes. And she was like, anybody fans of cartoons from the 80s? And I'm like, oh shit. And she's like, how about the 90s? And then at this point, I'm like, oh, fuck. I think this may just happen, right? And how about the 2000s? And she goes into Phineas and Ferb. Now, I had a few drinks. And yeah, I had a few drinks. And the place was fairly full. And I just like was, fuck it. And I just stood up and walked down the center aisle. And I was just like, hey, that's my song. And the lady looked at me like, what are you? And at first I thought, oh shit, this is not going to go well. Like security's coming. She was confused. I mean, big fat guy with tattoos just storms the stage, in the middle of cartoon time at the dueling pianos. It's probably not the safest she's ever felt. And I don't recommend anybody doing this unless you're in the exact same scenario. Like if it's your song, the song that and the premiere of the new shows is coming out in 4 days. It just timed out perfectly.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh my God, it is you. And she goes, we need a microphone. No, just take this one. And then I sang Phineas and Ferb for everybody. And that began a really fun time with those girls. Cause at their other, I came to the kids' performance that she did and sang the song too. And then, I ended up at their pop performance and I did The Darkness and I did Phineas and Ferb again, but that was super fun. And I didn't really do, I guess I did karaoke once as well. We made it to all the music trivia nights, got our asses kicked because we didn't have Mark, our friend Mark, friend of the show, Mark DeLimbo.
You didn't have phone a friend on the boat? We
did not, no. And so, but yeah, anyway, I cannot recommend enough. I texted the guys and I was just like, man, I think we need to do a trip with the three of us and our families and just do one of these because it's literally everything is taken care of. I mean, it's not the cheapest trip in the world and they don't have drink packages. You got to buy everything, but it's just worth it. It's yeah. I was talking to the guy from one of those bands that we talked to. And he was just like, my wife's been bugging me. Oh, Anne Berlin. I was talking to the singer for Anne Berlin and he was just like, yeah, my wife's been really bugging me to go. And I'm like, man, you just got to freaking figure it out. Cause you just really can't go back once you do that. So, I'm excited. And especially since, we do experience other cruise lines and they're all great. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I love the other music cruises that we do and all of that, but there is something just awesome about the Disney one. It's so much fun.
I think, I don't know if getting more bang for your buck is the correct terminology because you're paying more buck. There's more bang, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely like above and beyond on the service and the attention to detail of things. I mean, we've been on 3 Disney cruises now, and I think every single one of them, like, the waiters, whenever you come to dinner the second night, they know what you're drinking. They know what your kids are drinking, and if your kid ordered like 2 different drinks, when you sit down, both of the drinks are there. Yep. It's just little things like that. You're not waiting for that. I mean, a kid waiting for a lemonade, a 3-year-old kid waiting for a lemonade or something like that can cause a meltdown at that point of the day because they've been going around all day doing a million things. And it's just you're not waiting for it. It's right there. Food comes out quick for the kids. It's just attention to detail, and I don't mean everything in the service for kids. It's also for the adults.
Well, yeah. So just to be. The thing is, this is just some service for the adult shit that I think is so above and beyond. First of all, you can order 3 bottles of wine and you get a discount during dinner, right? So if you don't finish those, they cork them and they're just there for you the next night. Like, you don't have to keep up with it, or it's just there. If it's white, it's already on ice, and there they are. And then they're like, hey, do you guys want to go ahead and get 3 more? And if you don't do these tonight, then we'll bring them back tomorrow. I mean, you don't have to take them to your room. But I tell you the one thing.
To be fair, I think other lines do that too.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, this is my first experience with that. Well, I don't go to I've never been to, that I have never been to the actual dinner on any of the music cruises that we've done.
I know.
Once.
I'm not saying that it's funny to us that you haven't been doing that because you're busy, you got shit going on. But like Anik and I've been on a lot of cruises.
Oh, that's
we've
right.
been on music cruises too. And like the nice dinner is something that we like doing. So on the music cruise, we don't do it probably every night, but we do it a lot of the nights.
Yeah.
And we go have the experience and we enjoy it and we have a good time. And it's funny to us because on the music cruises that we've done, a lot of the times the people are complaining about the food, but they're so busy doing all the music stuff that all they do is eat the buffet.
Yeah.
They never go to the nice dinner. It's like, there's nice food. You just got to get away from the buffet.
You're so right. Yeah. Because again, you and I have lived on a tour bus for, on tour for 30 years. It doesn't take much to just get me to the next meal. You know what I mean? It's like, throw a piece of pizza on there and I'll eat half a hot dog, whatever. It's fine.
Totally. Yeah.
But I get wanting to go to the nice dinners because on this one, I literally had 2 of the best things that I've ever eaten in my life on this particular cruise. But back to the service, it's not even like those waiters or whatever that are assigned to you. It's like even in the bar area, they had the main bar, which is where you and I would normally be, whatever it's called on this particular boat, but it's different. But they're all kind of the same, right? Everyone has this bar that's like right in the middle where they have entertainment sometimes, and and that's usually where we end up hanging. So this one had like a coffee thing, whatever you call it, like the big silver thing with the and all the stuff, right? And so I would just go in there and get a black coffee every day, and it was delicious. But the first day, she noticed that I took the lid off to let my coffee cool for a minute, and then I put the lid back on and drank it. So she didn't just bring me one without a lid. The next day, brought my coffee, set it down, and put the lid beside it exactly the way that I'd on a napkin. Like, you know what it was? It's like loaded in Japan. You know what I mean?
As you were saying that, that's exactly what I was thinking. But
yeah,
it's just the attention to detail. And I mean, she served 400 coffees that day, but 100%. She remembered.
Yep, man. And just to give y'all some context, in Japan, the first time we went, I guess the best example is Eric at the time was a smoker, and so. After sound check, we had gotten to sound check. He stuck his cigarettes on the amp, and he and he had a beer, and he put his beer on the amp. So when we came back for sound check the next day, there was a literal rectangle of tape for where he was to put his cigarettes. There was an ashtray already there, and then a coaster for his beer, all in the exact spots, whatever. But yeah, it's like that. It's like, just a great, great trip. And something that I really, I was a little, we had a really busier spring. I had a bit of a busier spring than I had wanted to, I think, this year. And I was, when this trip came at me pretty quick, and I was like, man, I'm going to be wiped out, but I had a great time. And I am really, really glad we got to go. And we need to take a break. Later on in the show, Jamie James is here. And talk about a fascinating musician and just a great dude. I'm just really excited. And if you guys should watch this one, just because he's just like in his chair in his living room, and he's just the coolest dude, And but yeah, so if you normally are a listener, go to YouTube or Facebook and watch a little bit of this interview. But before that, we have another segment coming up right after these words. Y'all listen to this. We'll be right back with more Rockstar Dad Show. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show. Don't forget, we are on Adobe Radio every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's the first time you can listen to the show. Or you can grab that Adobe app. You can just search Adobe in the App Store of your favorite, whatever you have, and grab that app, and you can get all of our old shows and lots of music and things like that. And also you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. I like it because I subscribe to our podcast and I can tell if Jack is on the ball, if he's got that shit scheduled right.
Yeah. Lets you know when new stuff happens.
Yeah. And I just know whenever, if he's on the ball, he's usually on the ball.
He's pretty good about being on the ball.
Yeah. You guys go check out Jack, by the way, at What the Gleason, I believe it. No, that's his. Oh shit. I just gave his email out. Anyway, he's awesome. And yeah. Hey, it's summer. We've had that's the first week of summer we were gone. And so, I'm kind of stoked to be. It was kind of nice last night. Last night was the first night that Everett got to go to bed and not really have to worry about what time he got up today and all that stuff. And I like this time of year, but
I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in here. We had no surprise here. We had a baseball tournament this weekend.
Oh, of course.
And it was in Decatur, which is like, it's just on that line of like, it's far enough that you kind of want to get a hotel, but it's close enough where you don't really need to get a hotel. And we're like, if you don't have the 8 a.m. game, then you probably don't need to get the hotel. Anyway, so on Saturday, we had a 9:45 game. That's not too bad. We got up early and drove there. You don't know what's going to happen on Sunday until Saturday night. So we decided to drive back home, not get a hotel, and ended up with the 8 a.m. game. So to get there in time for warm-ups and everything, we're leaving the house at 6 a.m. And anyways, Tyler has a drumline camp that was starting on Monday. And on the way to baseball on Sunday, he goes, I'm excited about baseball today, even though it's early. He goes, I don't mind if we play all day. This is the first tournament that we don't have school on Monday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, cool. I go, but you still have to wake up at 7:30 to go to drumline camp. He goes, yeah, but that's not school.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, drumline camp, I'm sure where do they do that? I mean, don't tell me like where. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, is that just at a school or something? Or
it's for his school. It's his
drum wow.
line. Yeah.
Okay. That it's like, it's not a like a drum corps camp. It's his drum line. They have their own camp and they're out there. They get like guests dudes to come in and work with them and all that.
They're already going and working on stuff for next year. They're like, it's a good drum line. They're one of 7 drum lines that's been invited to go to Chicago for this thing in December. Like it's a good drum line.
Wow. Yeah.
They're already working on stuff.
Man, good for them. And I mean, it's so cool that he made it as a freshman too, So
yeah,
he that was yesterday. So did he enjoy it? Was he exhausted?
Yeah. So the drumline camp was from 8 to 4. I picked him up and he goes, yeah, tomorrow we're staying till 6. So today he's there 8 to 6 and all week long they do that. Then they have a few weeks off, but when he has those weeks off, he's going to baseball camp with the high school.
Yeah.
And then drumline camp starts back up in July when baseball camp stops. So he's busy with baseball and drumline all summer long.
So he is going to do high school baseball?
Yeah.
So
the only problem we're possibly running into, and we don't know the answer to this yet, is baseball's first period and band is first period.
You're right.
So that's not going to work out. But drumline, we believe, has its own period, which is supposed to be second period. So we think that it's going to work out. We just haven't got the complete answer yet.
Got it. Yeah, because I would assume he just takes athletics, right? And then he just works out with the baseball kids.
Yeah. So obviously the baseball season is heavier in the spring than in the fall, but they still have stuff going on in the fall. Either way, he'll be working out with the baseball team, and their workouts on the school days once school starts at 5:30 in the morning. Yeah. So if he doesn't get to do baseball period, he'll do the workouts and then go to school. Otherwise, he'll go to workouts in the morning and then stay in the baseball period. So he'll still be technically working with the team. He just won't be in the class, which will put him at a disadvantage for things. And he'll have to do work outside of school on his own. But I think it's going to work out since he's drumline, not since he's band.
Yeah. I mean, but Jesus Christ, if he has to be there at 5:30 and then that's his workout. And then if the band stays during band season until 7:00 at night, that's a fucking day, bro.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the year, it'll probably be like that where they do it every day.
Yeah.
After the first few weeks, once they kind of get in the swing of things, I think it's 3 days a week where they stay late. But yeah, those are going to be long days for him where,
Yeah.
luckily the school gets out at like 2 something. So he'll have a couple of hours to take a break. But yeah, he's going to have long days.
They get to leave and then come back basically usually. I mean, yeah. Okay. Well, that's different. He can, take his shoes off, eat some protein. Because I know he eats the shit out of some protein, and then head back. But man, that's a day. I mean, again, I think that's fucking wonderful. It's like idle time is just the goddamn devil when you get to be that age, And so, and it's still he's socializing and he's learning and it's just nothing wrong with any of that, man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a lot like. At the end of this school year, he was already doing stuff with the high school, and he obviously have a heavy baseball schedule. So he was pretty worn out. But you could tell even just like having 1 week of downtime, he was already starting to get bored at home. So he wants to have stuff to do, even if it's wearing him out.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you love what you do, I mean, it's funny because the band, as you remember, was nothing like that for us. We had 2 weeks of band camp before, it's just like it's 4 hours or something during the morning, and then you went home, and like it was just fucking nothing. And like I think we had to be to school at 7:30 in the morning, and school started at 7:50.
Yeah.
I mean, just nothing like what they have to do today. But the caliber of the product that they put out, 35 years later for me is just fucking insane.
It's such a weird struggle as a parent to watch that happen, right? I mean, the mental conversation that I have is like, man, we weren't that strict about it when we were kids. We weren't that heavy about it, and then you're like, but they're getting a better result. And so for the kids that are actually into it and care about it, they're putting in all this hard work and it's building character and it's showing that hard work pays off and it's putting them ahead from. There's probably other school districts or states that aren't that active or competitive. So if they want to go to college and do this stuff, they're going to be ahead. But man, it's also like, dude, these are still kids. You're asking a lot of these kids.
It is a lot, but you've been through it for most of his life with baseball, and I definitely, it's funny because then you and I got in rock bands when we were both, I was 13, you were around the same age, I think, right? When you started your band. And I mean, 6-7 hours a day sometimes if it was the weekend or whatever, there's nothing to us, that's just what we did. We drove ourselves to do that. We didn't need anybody telling us to,
Yeah, you're exactly right. I don't know, I got goosebumps when you're talking about that. It's like, you're right. If you're passionate about something and love something about it, it's just you eat breathe it, and that's what you do.
That's what you do. Well, man, I can see behind you that you are being beckoned to go get your little girl ready for whatever the appointment is she has. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, Jamie James is here, and it's a really great conversation, really great musician and a good dude and a good dad. And I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Y'all stay around. Listen to this. We'll be right back with more Rockstar Dad Show with Jamie James. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show. And, now I always say this, Gary, but like I say, it's not every day we get a legend, but, now we're just getting so many legends. It just, I mean, it's just par for the course, but we got a legend today. Jamie James is here from it's so many things. The King Bees, Dennis Quaid and the Sharks, and a new solo album called Straight Up coming out, or actually just dropped, I believe. Is that right, Jamie?
Yeah, it dropped in March 15th, I think. And then the vinyl will be coming out September 12th.
Congratulations. I mean, you having been in, your story's awesome. I mean, you've been touring really since you were a kid. And from the great country of Canada, which we love very much, and have toured there extensively as well. My first question though is, you toured with like an updated version of Steppenwolf?
Yeah, when I moved here in 1975, and I answered an ad in the paper, as you do when you're a musician going to a strange city. I did the same thing when I was 18, and I moved to London, and I had like my guitar and a little article that my mother cut out of the newspaper, in my town in Canada, saying that Apple, the Beatles formed a new company called Apple, and they were looking for songwriters and songs. And I'd been writing songs since I was 13. So I went with my little guitar, my songs, all the way over to London, a one-way ticket. and I went marching up to Apple offices, where they played their live show on the roof on Savile Row, and knocked at the door on a Saturday in the drizzling rain. And this security guard came to the door. He was very kind to me, but he kindly gave me, the old rock and roll shuffle, like, I'm sorry, son, but you have to do it through proper channels and all that. And then, so the next thing I did is I responded to an ad in the Melody Maker, the newspapers, like you do, right? You look in back then it was Melody Maker and New Music Express. Well, a few years later, in 1975, when I came to LA, the local magazine or paper for musicians was called Music Connection. And I answered an ad, and I was from Nick St. Nicholas, who had been the original bass player in Steppenwolf. And Nick and I hooked up, and then we formed a band together called Pacific Coast Highway with this other really wonderful guitar player from Canada by the name of Danny McBride, songwriter. And then one day Nick came to me and said, "Listen, Goldie and I have worked out this deal, and we have this is what he told me. We have the name to use Steppenwolf for a year." And the attorney on it was this guy, Edward Masry. He was the lawyer. I met him and had to go to these meetings and stuff. But he said, "But the thing is, Goldie has a guitar player he wants to use, so you have to audition for it." And I said, "No problem. That's all right." Because growing up in Canada, I knew all the stuff, like everything Robbie Robertson had ever played. I knew everything from the Guess Who, like I knew April Wine, if you see K, like I knew the local stuff as well as all of the Hendrix, you know what I mean? In those days, you did nothing but like listen to albums and learn their parts, right? Like,
totally.
So I went to this audition, and there was Goldie and behind his B3, and Kent Henry, who had played on 4 of the Steppenwolf albums, a wonderful guitar player. He plays the solo on a song called Ride, Captain, Ride. If you ever get a chance to listen to that, Ride, Captain, Ride, that's Kent playing the lead on that, on a 335. And so, and when they plug in, and I knew Don't Step on the Grass, Sam, and I knew Pusher Man and Rock Me Baby. I got through those just fine. And then Born to Be Wild. And then that I Like to Dream. What is that? What was
Magic Carpet Ride?
Yeah, Magic Carpet Ride. Yeah, right. And so then Goldie calls out Monster. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard the track Monster, but if you haven't, look it up. It's a very involved piece, but it's a beautiful piece of work. Great lyrics. John Kay wrote great lyrics. It's a great song, but I knew it note for note. So I had the gig. So yeah, for 1977, they had a world tour called Steppenwolf. It was called the New Steppenwolf legally, actually, the New Steppenwolf. It was the first incarnation without John Kay. And man, was that, and I was 23 years old. These guys were all in their like mid 30s. But it was a wonderful experience for me in all kinds of facets. Like I'd never been in a limousine before, man. I'd never been in a chartered plane before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many new experiences, And so Nick took me under his wing, and I did that for almost a year. And then I, saw that it wasn't really going anywhere. And and they also did 2 of my original songs every night, which was a kind of a stipulation. Like I said, guys, as long as we do some new creative stuff, because I don't want to keep kicking a dead horse,
Sure, absolutely. I mean, but now here we are, 45 years since you started the King Bees. And I mean, goodness, I mean, what a run. I mean, and did you guys, is it the same 3 people? I mean, that you guys have been were making music as late as like 2022, I believe, right? Like,
well, no, the King Bees broke up. That was Michael Rummans on bass, a great bass player, and Rex Roberts on drums. And Rex had that great Gene Krupa style, that band. Like, he was perfect for the songs I was writing at the time. And but we broke up in 1981 in March, before MTV started and all that, So we missed that whole thing. although we did play on American Bandstand, which was a whole other story and a great thrill for me. It was like a dream come true, you know.
Yeah.
But no, and then Michael and Rex and I haven't even clapped eyes on Rex since 1981. Michael and I have gotten together and played, but the guys that are on this record are Tom Walsh on drums, is a great drummer. You know, he started a band back when he was either in college or high school in Buffalo called Spyro Gyro with a couple of his friends.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. He played with America for a long time. And then Tom Mancias on bass, and Tom's been playing with me since the late 80s. I played with my buddy Harry Dean Stanton for 10 years and this very eclectic kind of, you know, quirky band that I just loved. And Tom was the bass player in that. And then I met Dennis Quaid through Harry, and then Dennis approached me about doing something, and Harry was slowing down. This is in the year 2000. So from 2000, Tom Walsh, the drummer, Tom Mancias, the bass player, and then Ken Stange, the keyboard player. And Ken was wonderful. He played with Roger Miller until he died. And, you know, he was wonderful. And anyway, we played almost right up till 2020. And then the pandemic and everything. And then the last show we did with Dennis was in 2023 down at the Green Hall. Yeah. And so, you know, we had all this experience together, and I just didn't want to see it go to waste. So that's how it came about. I called them and said, guys, I've got some new songs. And I said, there's no money in it. And of course, you know the response when you say to a musician, there's no money in it. You know, they're like looking at their watch and going, yeah. Okay, listen, call me back when you got a little funding, you know.
Right. Luckily, you know, a lot of them are used to hearing that. But I mean,
we all are.
Just to back up a little bit, I mean, Harry Dean Stanton, you know, I picture always as the dad from Pretty in Pink, but he was an alien and The Green Mile and Christine, and I mean, tons and tons of movies.
Dude, don't forget Godfather 2 and a movie he did with Dustin Hoffman, which is my favorite actually, called Short Time.
Yeah.
It's very good. Yeah, Short Time is very good. And Repo Man. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you playing with him through that, and that led to you meeting Dennis Quaid and
that is correct.
And helping to form that band.
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, because you're listed as a co-creator of Dennis Quaid, you know, and the Sharks. I mean, so I mean, and you guys, I mean, obviously did that for, gosh, I mean, a long time. And oh my God, you've also worked with Roger Miller, Tina Turner.
No, not me. That's Ken, the keyboard player.
Oh,
Ken,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Kenny, the keyboard player. He played with Roger Miller. Yeah. No. My only things that I've really done that I focus on was. I mean, I also played 1973 for about 6 months with a guy out of Detroit. He was from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He went by the name Skip Van Winkle. And he had a duo called Teagarden and Van Winkle with a drummer from Tulsa named David Teagarden, who ended up playing with Bob Seger for a long time. And then Leon Russell. There was a whole Tulsa scene in the late 60s, early 70s. And Skip and David Teagarden came out of that. And they had some regional success with a song called God, Love, and Rock and Roll. And Skip moved to Detroit. And so I ended up playing with him for a while. It was my first band in America. And in that band was this great singer named Stoney Reese, who then changed her name to Sean Murphy. And she sang in Little Feat for years. She's a great singer. And she had also been with, not Captain Beefheart, but what's the other cat? What's the cat? From Detroit, Meatloaf. She'd been with Meatloaf, and then she brought in this other female singer, Marcy Levy, and Marcy ended up going on to play with Eric Clapton, and she co-wrote "Lay Down Sally" with him, and we ended up with this big old band of like 6 people. And it was a wonderful band, but there was too many people to pay, so Skip fired me one day. It's one of the only times I've ever cried with a guitar in my hand. Like I was holding it. We were at sound check and he said, brah, it's the last night you're going to be playing. And I was like, no. But
and on to bigger and better things. You know, and I mean, more recently, I mean, you know, having, you know, I guess you had some health stuff go on. You had a heart attack and really came out of that really motivated to to make this record? Is that
focused
Yeah.
focused back on songwriting?
Mm.
Because as they were wheeling me in for this open heart surgery, I had what's called a quadruple bypass.
Mhm.
And it saved my life because I had no symptoms except I was getting really tired. And we had done a show up in Telluride, Colorado with Dennis up in the mountains. This was in February of 2020. And we were up there the first week of February, and I couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't make it from my hotel room door to the elevator without sitting down 3 times.
Oh man.
And so I bought all these oxygen canisters to get through the show that night, and I called my doctor and I told him I'm afraid to go to sleep because when I close my eyes on the pillow, man, I can hear like the blood rushing in my neck and stuff. It was weird.
Yes.
And he said it was just altitude sickness. But when I got back to LA, I was still tired, like not like a regular tired, but like out of breath, but no chest pains, no other symptoms. And but I went to my doctor that Monday, and then he said, I got to get you in for to see a cardiologist and get well, it's a thing where they go up through your groin. I forget what it's called, but it's a procedure. Anyway, the guy did that on the Friday, February the 14th. And he just said to me, dude, I can't let you go home. We got to schedule you for the next surgery. Wow. And the surgeon, God rest his soul, Dr. Aziz Ghali, God bless his soul, not rest. He's still with us. He was so wonderful. But he said to me, man, the heart that I held in my hand this morning, that was good for another 3 to 5 days. Your heart was,
my goodness.
Your heart was 90% blocked. So it saved my life. And when that happens for me, as they were wheeling me in for the surgery, and I don't know, I'm one of those cats, man, where honestly, like since I was a kid, I don't pray as much unless I'm between a rock and a hard place. Not now, but I mean, then, you know what I mean? Like you're floating along. You got to get your guitar with me every time you're floating along. Unless it was really, I was backed up against the wall, dude. I just stopped praying when I was a kid, like the formal prayer. But they're wheeling me into this surgery before I went unconscious. And I said, God, I promise you get me through this for my daughter. You get me through this for my family. And I promise you, I will take any scrap of talent that I have left that you gave me. And I'm going to focus on writing songs again, because I've been away from it now for over 40 years. And I want to get back to that. And sure enough, I got through it. And that's what I did. And I sat down just with my guitar and a harmonica rack and just played every day like a job from about 8 o'clock until 4 in the afternoon with a lunch break. And then I started, all of a sudden, something opened up, and man, all these song ideas started coming, grooves and lyrics. And when you're in that creative kind of higher vibration place, you almost anything anybody says, you could think, oh, that's good for my song. You know what I
mean? Yeah. I just have notes on my phone, and I think people probably get sick of me doing this, but it's constantly every day, no matter who I'm with, somebody says something or, whatever they say something, and I'll just go, can I have that? And then that's a binding contract. And then I write it down in my phone, and then that becomes a song lyric. But
that's exactly, you're in that, because you're in that kind of higher vibration, that creative space that, that you can't take it for granted either, because there's a lot of time that you're not there. You know what I mean? And there's probably all these great song ideas floating around, and you don't hear them that way, So
I can't imagine. So you took 40 years of just, being the guitar guy, being the, making other people's songs and making other artists, look great. And then all of a sudden you kind of find yourself back in the driver's seat. But, it's also a lot's changed. Technology has changed and all of these things. So it sounds like you kind of went back in, guitar and harmonica and a pad of paper and simplify and just go. And did you find it to be therapeutic at times?
Not only therapeutic, and that's a good point. And all these other things had changed, which I wasn't aware of because I haven't been involved in like that part of the music business, mostly just playing nightclubs and having fun and playing with Harry Dean for 10 years, and then playing with Dennis for over 20 years. And so, so nothing had changed in me. My love for writing and creating and just, going inside. And even a couple of times like I like just the other day, a few days ago, I was dreaming I was listening to kind of a combination of an artist that was playing. I was in some club somewhere, and it was Jimi Hendrix / Randy California. Like, it was a combination, and they were on, and this guy was on stage playing a badass groove, and I'm waking up and I'm going, wait a minute, that's in my dream, dude. I got to go in and play that, figure it out, and lay it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, all that kind of stuff, you know, just dedicated.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize about the change in recording until we went into the studio to really lay these down. And I didn't change, because we went in and laid this whole album down in one afternoon. I mean, those vocals on there, that's my scratch vocals from the first day. I had to go back a couple of days later and redo a couple of harmonica things, because on the rack I didn't get the tone I wanted. So I went back, you know, where I had some control, and I added a couple of little harmonies here and there on the hooks. But other than, and then I just, for my sake, I added one layer of acoustic on every song, playing Harry Dean's old 1954 Martin that he gave me, that he played in the movie Cool Hand Luke. And
Wow.
and that's Harry's harmonic, one of his old harmonicas that I'm playing in the video of Let the Praying Begin, because I love that man, and he opened me up to so many kinds of music, 1920s and 30s music, and got me back into studying chords and stuff, because I had to, for him to sing those songs, I had to get back into learning, and the Mexican music, the mariachi music, and so much stuff, man. And I learned so much from him. And so I just I felt like I wanted to keep that, and you know, and all the love and the care that you get in a hospital from strangers, you know, that are bringing you back to life, and just the celebration, really, you know. So, you know, and the guys were wonderful. We just went in like we were doing a gig at Green Hall. I said, we're going to just set. And Paul Rossler is a wonderful engineer at Robot Kitten. He's like, well, how many songs do you want to do? You want to try and get one done today? I said, no. No. We're gonna get at least 10 done. And he looked at me like I had 3 heads.
Yeah.
You know, or as old Harry Dean used to say, he looked at me like a hog looking at a wristwatch. You know, he was perplexed.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
but once we
happen these days, it just, you know, that's just not the kind of thing that happens, you know. But this is, you know, 2 shows in a row where we've had a musician come on that went in and made an old style organic record. You guys all played at the same time, I assume, and got in.
Yeah, we just laid it down like doing a gig. It was like a gig. We just laid it down. Tommy just started playing the drums, and then Paul got it, and he was on board as soon as he heard it start to play. We rehearsed twice, and then we'd been playing so much, it was like you breathed together. You know what I mean? Like, and Tom, the bass player, and I, we were in the control room, and Tom Walsh was in the little drum booth, and I just started playing and singing my songs, man, and we just laid it down. And honestly, I didn't really have the dough to go back in and get fussy, so we just, and I'm glad, because I could tell. You know, you can tell when it's a magical night with your guys. You know, you can always get by on your talent and your rehearsal and all that kind of stuff. But there's nights that there's something that clicks. And there's those times like when you're in the studio and you go, man, I wish the record button was on. Did we get that? No, dang it.
Yeah.
No, we didn't get it. But this was one time that it was on and we did get it. So we got it in about 3.5 hours.
Man, I love it so much. You're listening to the Rockstar Dad Show. We're talking with Jamie James, and you know, it is the Rockstar Dad Show. You mentioned your daughter earlier. Tell us a little bit about her.
Well, I mean, it happened late in life, and her mother and I wanted to have a child, and although we're no longer together. And you know, it's one of those things where you want to do something, but I was in my mid-50s, and but it happened, and we were so blessed and so grateful. And then during the pregnancy, things didn't work out between the mother and I. But Frances and I, she's going to be 16 in August, and she's my go-to. She's like the light of my life. You know, she's the apple of my eye, and she's the fifth part of my heart. They say you only have 4 chambers, but you know what it's like, especially once you have a daughter, or any child, you know, all of a sudden you grow a new chamber in your heart, you know. And
Absolutely.
and she's lovely, and she's always come over to see me on a regular basis since she was born, and so she's only known 2 homes, so
Right.
it's not unusual for her,
Right.
and her mother's been fantastic and helping accommodate that, yeah, and then Frances is my go-to, like all since the surgery, all these songs, every new, because I lost my mom. My mom used to be the one that I would play new songs for, but she's no longer with us. We lost her in 2018, so I started to play for Frances, and I learned something, man, and that is you should not underestimate the sophistication of a youthful ear. Right, like there, it's really interesting how sophisticated their ears really are, man.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I love experiencing my children hear music, and especially new music for the first time. It's just
Awesome.
it's really an interesting thing to see and hear their little brains,
Yes.
get their head around it and stuff. So I mean, that's, and how blessed you are to to have an ex that you guys co-parent together or whatever, and teenagers can be really tough. And the fact that you have a great relationship with your daughter at 16 is says a lot about you, and as that's awesome, man. I love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see her that much since because they get to that age where they'd rather be with. I mean, who wants to be with an old fat bald guy that plays a guitar, man? Come on,
Yep,
dude. You know what I
totally.
mean? It's like,
Yep.
but no, we do. She comes over and we do, and she's she can be tough on me when I play songs to her, or I can tell the minute her little toe starts tapping, because they're too cool for school. They don't say if I get 2 syllables out of her, that's a lot,
Yeah.
I can't get like a whole sentence to say, what did you think? It's never going to happen. It'll be a head nod, the slightest little sign of big.
This day and age, though, if they're with the phones, just the fact that you get any sort of response. Go ahead, Gary.
It could be phony. I can never tell anymore.
Hey, Jamie, we glossed over something earlier that I kind of wanted to touch back on, but you said whenever you were heading over to London that your mom sent you with this newspaper clipping, and it kind of just struck me like how awesome that must have been growing up, having a encouraging parent like that. I think most people, especially in that time, but still today, I think a lot of people growing up have parents saying, hey, finish school. Hey, go get a job. Put that guitar down. That's nonsense. So, I mean, that's kind of that had to be a nice, encouraging atmosphere that you were growing up, having a supportive mom like that.
I'm so glad you brought that up, man, because it is true. Yes, this is a show called Rockstar Dads. And of course, I mean, rock star. Come on, I'm Jamie James. I'm not. I am internationally unknown and nationally ignored.
Well, we say rock star in the meaning of it can mean a lot of different things, because
No, you're right. No, you're right. I'm definitely a rock star in my own bathroom mirror. There's no doubt about it.
There you go. That's good enough for us.
I was a rock star in the 50s when I used to jump down to the stairs at the landing and with the broom handle and sing, you ain't nothing but a hound dog, whatever, I loved Elvis. But
Absolutely.
no, but my mother, I never heard any of those comments about stay in this or do that. She always encouraged the music, always. And in fact, the neighbor next door, well, my parents got divorced when I was maybe, I don't know, 10 or 11. And it was tough times financially. And we moved into these government project, low rent housing, 4 kids. I was the oldest, and my mom. And she was a wreck emotionally after the divorce, it was as a wreck. And I was trying to pitch in as much as I could in every way that I could. But it's hard, because you're trying to have a life at school and you're trying to do stuff after school, but you got to be home to, make sure there's something, food to eat on the table. And so it was challenging. But the next door neighbor had this old guitar. It only had 4 strings on it. And the copper binding was the strings. The copper binding was beginning to unravel. So whenever I would try to learn something, it would, to prick little holes, hurt my fingertips, but I didn't care. And this had to be about 65 or so, because one of the first things I learned is that there was a relatively new TV show called Batman, and I wanted to learn that, and I learned that. I learned it by ear, and I played it day and night for a couple of weeks. I played it in the backyard. The neighbor kids would come over. I was hacking on the Batman riff, you know. And then the next thing I graduated to was I borrowed a guitar that had 6 strings, and I was able to learn House of the Rising Sun by the Animals, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Christmas 1966, even though she had no money, my mom, there was a Japanese model. I didn't know then. I just knew it was a red guitar with buttons on it, knobs and shiny, and a little amplifier for $55. But it was there under the tree for me for Christmas in 66. And man, I took that thing down to the basement and plugged it in and started to I played Wild Thing and Hanky Panky, and I wasn't sophisticated. I couldn't, well, it hadn't come out yet, because I remember struggling. One of the first songs I really struggled with was Hush, Ritchie Blackmore's chords on Hush. You know, that was, but until then it was pretty simple stuff, you know, Gloria, all this kind of stuff. And I used to turn it up in the basement and hack at those things for hours and hours and hours. And my mother never once said, you know, stay in school or keep your day job or da-da-da-da-da. And then I started writing songs. And the first song I wrote for her to put a smile on her face, because she had a radio on the refrigerator that was going all the time. And I noticed that music helped her escape her melancholia and put her in a really good, nice mood. And so I wanted to have that effect. So, and there was like Carlos Jobim was on the radio then in those days, and Girl from Ipanema, you know, and this was just AM radio. There was no FM yet. This is just AM all, you know. And so I got this little book on chords by Mel Bay, and I started to learn, you know, G major 7th and G major 6th. And anyway, I wrote a song and sang it to her, and she really liked it. And no, I never in my life did my mother say anything to me except positive.
Man, I mean, that's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, so then now that you're a dad yourself, you know, first of all, you know, is your daughter, is she into music at all, or what is she into? And in that, like, how do you encourage her as far as life is concerned?
You know, the kids can be very clandestine, as you know. And so she tells me that she hates music, but I know she doesn't. She loves music, you know, but they like to be controversial sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and but she listens to me with nothing but patience. And I can tell, like, when she bops her little foot or her head, or she moves, that, you know, and all these 10 songs, she helped me choose these 10, you know, and because I had about 30 to choose from of all this new set of songs I've been writing since 2020. So it was a tough choice, but I ended up choosing ones that I thought that the guys would have the most fun playing, you know. And it's nice when you can write songs and you know the drummer that's going to play on them, or you think you know, or you know the bass player that's going to play on them. I don't know if you've experienced, but it helps with a direction a little bit sometimes. And so you know, my daughter, you know, I give her what my mother gave me, nothing but love and encouragement, you know, for whatever she wants to do, man. I'm not, you know, I'm not going to, and I have to go by that model, because I mean, to this day, I'm still playing guitar. I'm 71 years old. I've never made a dime in my life, except for in London. I had to get a job there for a while in a clothing store in Soho, which was nice. But other than that, it's all just been through the guitar, and so, you know, my mother's words of encouragement have given me a very good life. The guitar has taken me a lot of places, and I don't know what my daughter's path is. It's not my business to know. I just know that I want to encourage her on whichever path she wants to find herself, you know.
Jamie James, the album is called Straight Up. It is out now, streaming everywhere you could possibly imagine. And you signed with Oleo Records. So for those of you who are put things together that I do in my life, Carl, Capriolio owns Olio Records, and he was a partner with Linus and I in Crappy Records, which was our little independent label for a while. And I'm so happy you hooked up with Carl. He's one of my favorite people in the world, and I bet you guys are having a blast together.
Oh man, when I finished recording these songs, I had them, and I only knew 2 people in the recording business because I'd been out of it for so long. And I sent an email to Carl. I had an old email address from him from like 25 years ago. I said, "Hi, Carl, this is Jamie. I don't know if you remember me, but are you still in music?" And blah, blah, blah. And he sent a thing back, say, "Yeah, I'm in music and stuff." And I said, "Well, I've got some new songs." He goes, "Oh, I'd love to hear them." And we had made a CD together in the 90s of some original songs that I had written, and nothing happened with it. As I think I can't remember what happened, and I want to re-record some really good songs, I thought. And then I sent it also to my friend Greg Allen over at to Brad Rosenberger at Omnivore. And they both got back to me, but Carl got back to me first, and his enthusiasm, they both were positive about it and wanted to do something, which I thought, wow, that's, because in LA, I don't know in Dallas if it's like this, but you can't even get people to call you back half the time.
Well, yeah, it's like that everywhere.
It's like, and Carl's been wonderful. And then just this week, he told me that he's going to make vinyl, and it's going to come out September 12th, and we're going to shoot a little video. That video, Let the Praying Begin, that's the first video I've ever made in my life.
Wow.
And then so we're going to do another one for the second song, Showbiz Boogie, which is kind of funny. I mean, Showbiz Boogie I wrote because when I've traveled around, I always see guys in towns like me that haven't given up, are still playing, like me. I'm sitting here, I'm going, it's like that scene in Monty Python where the knight's fighting and he loses an arm.
Oh, yeah.
And then he loses a leg. I'm still here holding a guitar going, I'm going to be big, man. I'm going to be big.
A mere flesh wound.
Yeah.
I got to say something, though, Jamie. You're 71. You're still making music. You have a new lease on life after you got 4 new valves in your chest, and you ready to, it's pumping the blood the right way, bro. It's really, really cool. And it's inspiring, to other guys like us who have, been doing it all of our lives. And, I'm just so happy for you that it seems like you got a great team. Mike at Earshot, shout out to him too, for being so gracious and hooking us up to be able to do this. But man, I'm happy for you. Straight Up is the album. Jamie James, you're a lovely man. Come back and visit us sometime, would you?
I'd love to. Maybe when the album comes out in September, I'd love to do that.
Let's do that. When your vinyl drops, let's catch back up, and we'll get a couple of Dennis Quaid stories or some Harry Dean Stanton stories in that next time.
Oh, I'd love that. I love talking about those days. Yeah, of course. Well, thank you guys very much. It's been a joy, and what an honor, because I just saw the video 1985 this week. Carl told me about it, and I couldn't have been more impressed. And that's saying a lot, because I don't I don't really get out much or watch new stuff, because a lot of the time I find I end up disappointed, honestly.
Yeah.
So that was very, very good, and it's an honor for me to talk to both of you guys.
Well, Jamie, thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, that was 20 years ago, but you know what? Much like you, we are still at it. And we're also doing things that we've never done. And I just, there's a blessing in there somewhere, man. And we just appreciate you being here.
Right.
Jamie James, everybody. Straight Up is the album. And man, what a great episode. You guys, y'all be good. And, seriously, just be good. We'll see y'all next time.
This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that some rockstar dads who started a show. Until the next episode.